What's this, right baby? There.
Fantastic. All right, so I promise I won't be really long. But I did actually really want to follow up on what Mel was saying. And that is, I know for our team, this was actually a lot of work that we did for the last 3 to 5 years. And much the same as Mel. I know it was a lot of work because I watched people do a lot of work. And I don't think we celebrate our successes nearly enough. So to tag team with Mel, I'm actually going to ask you, it's got something to do with my presentation, to stand up and actually give yourself all a round of applause. Would you please do that? All right, so my brief little thing here is actually, because you've succeeded at this, is to throw out another challenge. And actually, after Dr. Ross's talk, this is really appropriate. Because right now, the most prevalent risk factor for heart disease and stroke is physical inactivity. And why do we know that? It's really simple. We just ask people. And they basically, half of people are sedentary by the criteria. And that's self-reporting, so we know it's probably actually worse. And as you get older, like towards my age, it gets worse. And like, what's happening with our young people? Because the young people, that's our future. And you heard about some of that this morning, is the future may get worse, right? So what are our young people doing? Well, the percentage of Canadian children and youth that are meeting the guidelines, and I think we're all familiar with the Canadians' physical activity guidelines, they're not huge. The percentage is. Now, you know it's going to be bad, but again, because this is physical activity, I'm going to ask those that think the percentage that's hitting target to please stand up if they think it's less than 50%. Oh, come on, stand up. You guys can do it. Are you telling me you all think it's over 50%? All right. So keep standing if you think it's less than 30%. Keep standing if you think it's less than 10%. Guess what? It's pitiful. It's less than 10%. So why is that important? It's not to go home and feel bad. Because in 1992, what was the percentage of hypertensives that were controlled? It was like 13%. It sucked. And like, we've changed that, so we're world leaders in Canada now. And this particular group, it's like 80% or something. But you know, across Canada, it's 64%. So we can change this. We just need to focus on it. So what are the kids doing? I think we know what the kids are doing, right? They're basically on the friggin' computer, right? And they're doing much more of that than physical activity. And again, this is self-reported. So if we're going to reach these people, we need to do it through the screen. Is it, like when I went to school, I did phys ed every day. I mean, but I know I'm an old person in this crowd, right? Well, it's not happening in school. And what about recreational sports? It's not happening there because the people that need it the most can't afford it. So what's the impact of this? What does this really mean? And we just heard a provincial budget. So you guys are used to billions of dollars, right? So what is this actually costing us in direct and indirect costs? What is a sedentary lifestyle, which half of us are doing? What is it costing us in real figures? All right, we're doing the standing up thing again. Who thinks it's over $1 billion? Stand up. All right. Who thinks it's over $3 billion? So sit down if you don't. Keep standing if you think it's over $5 billion. You guys are seeing a trend here, right? It's kind of like your slides, right? All right. So yeah, it's $5 billion a year. So here we are with a budget. We're trying to save money, right? Getting rid of subways and stuff. We could be saving $5 billion. This is in Canada. These are Canadian figures. These are real figures, right? That's the potential. That's the target that we could be looking at. Now, we're all healthcare workers, so for us, although money's important and we're taxpayers too, we're looking at death and disability as being the big issue. So let's think about death, and let's put a little more positive spin on it, right? Because somebody went to Kim Lavoie's thing. We always want to be positive. So let's think about if we could wave a magic wand, and all of a sudden you guys were all physically active, and everyone outside this building was physically active, and we were actually doing the guidelines, right? We would prevent, get ready for this, 33% of deaths related to coronary artery disease. We would, oh, that's too bad. We would prevent 25% of deaths related to stroke, 20% of deaths related to type 2 diabetes, 20% of deaths related to hypertension. Like, that's incredible. And we would potentially save $5 billion. And you don't need to be putting people on multiple regimes of drugs or having more cath labs. Like, if I was a government official, I'd just be going crazy with this one. This is just with physical activity. And like, we don't even want to call it physical activity anymore because people think that they're going to have to sweat and they're going to have pain and like that sucks, right? So we want to call it active living. Because really, you only have to be, I mean, you saw Dr. Ross's thing. You only got to be doing something like 2 to 3 hours a week. It's not a big deal. You don't even have to work up a sweat. And we're talking about exercise. And there's good studies now that show that exercise decreases all kinds of cancers. And we already know that exercise makes you smarter. What's the hardest thing your brain has to do in a lifetime? It's learn a language. Now, kids, if you teach them, because my wife does this, if you teach them the letter sounds and you teach them with movement, they learn to read faster, they learn to read better, and guess what? The boys catch up with the girls. It's the only way the boys will catch up with the girls. So that's why the boys are squirming in all those classes, because they want to learn. But you got to get them moving to do that. So exercise is huge, and exercise decreases stress, decreases our diagnoses and frequency of mental health disorders. And here's the big one. It improves sex. Yeah. You have it more often, you enjoy it more, your performance is better. Plus, with exercise, you release endorphins. So you have a natural high. And it's legal. Did I mention it improves sex? So, anyway, it does lots of things. So this is what you guys got to sell. No, not the sex. You got to sell the exercise. So I don't think it's going to be all that hard. Like, I think we can do this, right? So, for yourself, if you are physically active, right, not only be doing it for yourselves, but share it. Talk about it. Be a role model in your community so that other people, you guys are all leaders, right? So share what you're doing so other people will do it. Oops. This is making me go back. Perfect. And then for everyone, just educate and get away from this weight thing. In other words, the Dr. Ross thing was perfect. We need better tools, right? So get away from the weight thing. Inform. And then as healthcare workers, what can we do? We're going to do the same things we've been doing for hypertension and for smoking, right? So we have to screen, because this is great. 50% of them are going to be positive. I mean, what a better thing to screen for, right? Sedentary lifestyle.